RPR 225 Q&A practice test. Ready? Here we go. Mr. Marks, in what town, without telling us your address, what town do you live in? Orange, California. And back in March of 2010, did you know somebody named Sue Lake? Yes, indeed. Let me put Exhibit 47 on the screen, already identified. Would you turn around briefly? Do you know the photo in this exhibit? Yes. And is that Sue Lake? Yes, it is. Okay, thank you. How did you know Ms. Lake? We attended the same church. What church is that? Cornerstone Baptist Church in Tustin, California. How long had you been with the church? Now it's been 15 years maybe. What's your role with the church? I'm a bench warmer, a pew warmer, just a member. Okay, do you know the pastor? Oh yes. Okay, and do you recall, if you know, how long Ms. Lake had been going to that church? A couple years, I think. I'm not real sure. Okay, had you ever met her husband? Twice before, yes. Did you know him well? Not at all. Do you recall if you ever even talked to him? I'm sure that I, said a few words to him, but you weren't friends? No. The evening of March 8th, 2010, or maybe early morning of March 9th, 2010, did you get a phone call from someone in the middle of the night? I did, yes. Who was that from? I got a call from the pastor's wife. Did she ask you to go somewhere? Yes, she said that something had happened and wanted me to go to Sue's house and just be with Ross. Okay, and did you go to Sue's house? Yes, I did. Had you been there before? Never. Okay, did you have to get the address? Yes, I did. Okay, about how far is it from Sue's house to the church? I'd just say 3 or 4 miles. So drive time would be what, if you can say? 6-8 minutes. Okay, when you got to the house, what did you see? Fire department, a lot of firemen in the house, the fence, and a couple of sheds. That was all I saw. Do you remember what time? I mean, if you recall when you got the call. I haven't. I don't know. Okay, was it still dark? Yes, it was. When you got to the house, was it still dark? Yes. And were there, sheriff's department was there? They came in a little later, I believe. I'm not sure if the sheriff's department was there when I got there or not. Okay, did you go to the house? No. Where did you go? I parked out in front of the house, did walk in through the gate just a little ways, and then came back to the front of the house and hung out there. Did you go inside an area kind of known as the chicken coop? Did not. Okay, so you never saw Sue's body? No, I did not. Okay, do you remember? Had Sue Lake strike that? Did you go to church that day? Yes. The morning of March 8th? Yes, I did. What time did church service start? The church service started at about 11. Is there a set time? Yeah, it's just at 11. Okay, sometimes a little later. Yeah, how long did church service last back then? They can go fairly long, maybe a little more than an hour. Pastor gets a little windy sometimes. So what would you say, what time? Is there a range of when church service might end, like from when to when is a basic ending time? I would say it ends around about 12:30. It could run a little later, but not too much. Okay, do you recall whether Ms. Lake was there at church that day? Yes, I recall that. What do you recall about her being there? I just recall her sitting in that next to the last pew. I was taking the offering that day, and I recall just walking back there and making eye contact and smiling. Just that was it. Okay, and did you speak? Did you give an interview with the sheriff's department that night when you got out there at the house? Yeah, I'm sure I did. Yeah. Did you talk to the defendant and all that? I'm sorry. You know Mr. Lake here in the courtroom? Yes, I do. Would you tell the court where he's seated and describe an item of clothing he's wearing? Sitting to my left over there, he's wearing a blue shirt, dark sports coat, and a dark and gold or brown tie. Did the defendant tell you anything about a divorce or anything that was pending? No, he did not. Okay, did he tell you anything about medical coverage or medical insurance for Ms. Lake? I don't recall. Do you think you might recall if you saw your statement in a police report? Yes. Okay, let me show you pages 484, 485 right there. Just look at the first part of the second page there. I think I recall. Okay, let me grab the report now. Based on is your memory better after reading the statement you made to a deputy? Pardon me, do you recall now that you've seen this police report? Yes. Okay, what do you recall the defendant saying about that? Just that she wouldn't be able to, they couldn't afford the medical coverage as it was, and that if they divorced, she would be able to get some help with medical coverage or so. Mr. Marks, I think that you went out there with a member of the church also. Was that right? Yes, I did. Was that Mr. Carl? Yes, it was. Okay, and when you were speaking to Mr. Carl, was that in a car? Yes, it was. So you were kind of sitting in the car with him to help him and things like that. Yes, sir. Okay, and I suppose that you were there for a long while, and in that time there was lots of talking. Sure. Okay, and so one of the things that came up was this business about the medical coverage and insurance and things like that. Yes, sir. Okay, when there was this talk about medical insurance and coverage, was it by my client? Was it in the form of a statement or in the form of a question to you? It would have been in the form of a statement, I'm sure. All right, thank you, Mr. Marks. All right, that will conclude our RPR Q&A 225 Q&A practice test.